Hello, welcome to Formulas for Teachers. This is Michael Anderson. This is video number 3 of a series where we are working through a lot of, or a crazy amount of Google form data that's on a Google Sheet, and we're making sense of the data so that we can have individual teachers put everything into the gradebook. If you are not familiar with how to use Google Sheets and these formulas, you may want to start with the introductory video. In the last video, video number 2, we basically used the split function so that we could isolate the first name and the last name section of the email addresses so that we could begin to organize this data very quickly. So that's what this video is all about. If you don't know how to use the split function, watch the last video, then that'll get you up to date of where we are for this video. But now we're going to basically be doing some organization of the data here. So the first thing we have to do is think about the range or the area that we want to work with. We're going to use a function called the query function, and that requires us to have a named range or an area of data that we're going to utilize that has a specific name that can be referenced by the query function. There's a couple different ways you can name ranges. Basically, any sort of like that right there would be a range from, what is it, D4 to Z20 would be a range. And I hid these. They would actually be included in this range even though they're hidden. So that's an important thing to know. So I could choose a range by just selecting the actual stuff that I want. Now this is Google Form data. Maybe there's a student that was sick. They might do this later. So I want to capture all the possible data that I can, even if more data gets added. The easiest way to do that is to go over here to the left, select everything, and then I'm going to go to data, and then I'm going to go to named ranges. And my favorite thing, this is all the data, to name all the data is lowercase, like that. Now the syntax, the lowercase there and then the uppercase there, that's a JavaScript syntax. You don't have to use it like that. The one thing you can't do when you name your range is name it with the beginning letter a number. So I couldn't put like 1 all data or something like that. It's got to start with a letter. So all data is the name of this range. Basically, sheet 1, all of this would be all data. So I'll just click done. And so I have all this data right here. And now I can use this data with the query function. So what I want to do is I want to isolate these by last name. So the first one I'm going to do, I'll do mine, Anderson. So I just need to get all the students who have taken this quiz that are in my class. Now I'm also going to need to isolate them by class period as well. But the first thing I want to do is just isolate these by last name, and then I also want to order them alphabetically. So that's the goal of this video. The next video is going to show us how we isolate these by period. So to do this, all I have to do, well, a couple things, and I'm going to actually do this for each individual teacher. I'm just going to show you how to do it for one, and you can infer how to do it for other teachers, additional teachers. So I'm going to add another sheet here, and I'm just going to title this Anderson. And I'm going to change the name of this. This should be, that's what it would look like. I had copied this data to another sheet to be able to use it. So form responses 1 is probably what your sheet would look like for all of the information. So I can actually close this right here. So now I have Anderson. This is blank. So I'm going to do the query function here. We'll start small. I'm going to go equals query. And then I'm going to type in the name of the range. So I'll type in all. And notice it shows up here, all data. I might have a bunch of ranges, all students, all periods, all data, whatever I want, as long as they're not all named the same thing. So this is very helpful. As I type in all, anything that qualifies with all will show up. So I can keep typing data, or I can just select this. And I'm just going to close this parentheses now and see what happens. It's going to say ref because it's thinking, and then there we go. So this basically is all the data. It is everything that is here, but it's all of it. So now on this sheet, well, I don't want all the data. I want all the data, well, some of the data, because I don't even care about any of these answers here. I want everything, basically the email address, the score, and the period, where column D is my last name. So how I do that is this. I'm going to go after the A for all data, and in the parentheses, I'm going to click comma. Then I'm going to type in a big quote the word select. Select has to be capitalized. I'm going to select B, C, and E. So So those are the columns that I'm going to select. And let's just leave it like that and see what happens. So now all the rest of that data went away. So now I just have this, which is pretty nice. I only get what I want. That's what the query function is good for. Now I realize though, I would rather, just for my purposes, have it the name, the period, then the score. It doesn't matter how you do it, but I like that better. So the nice thing about query is I can go B, comma, E, comma, C, and then let's delete that one, and then hit enter, and then it reorganizes it. So query is good because you can order your columns however you like. And very often you'll find that a column you need is not where you would want to have it. It might be in column A, J, B, far off to the right. Well, you can move it wherever you'd like it so you can use it. Now, one thing it is important, notice these are capitalized. If I were to do like lowercase b, because I'm going quick, it's going to say value. It's going to error out because all the columns have to be capitalized. So we'll do B. So good, I have this. Now, here's the thing though, I need them only where Anderson is. So I'm gonna go comma D, because that's where Anderson is. So B, E, C, and D, but I only want to see the ones with Anderson. So I'm gonna add this little statement after the D, where, and that's a lowercase where, D equals, and now here I'm gonna use a little quote mark, a small one. And the reason why is if I use a big one, it's going to think that I'm finishing the formula, but I'm not. And then I'm going to type in Anderson, and then I'm going to finish that little quote. And then now I only have the ones that say Anderson. Of course, I don't even need this column D, I realize, because it is Anderson. All of these should be Anderson. So I'm going to actually go over here and delete D and delete that comma. So now I know that these are my kids, still ordered by period, and they're then the scores, and these are only my students. If I were to go here and type in, oops, come on. If I were to type in Bass, which if I was doing this for all of my teachers, I would do this, type in Bass. Those would be all of Coach Bass's kids, but they're not his kids. I just want my kids right now. I would do his on a different sheet. I would make a sheet that says Bass and do the same thing. So those are my kids. Good. So I have all of my students only organized by my last name. So here they are. Now there's one more thing that I want to do, and this is going to seem a little bit odd, but it's important that I do this. I want to order these alphabetically. So column AA, and my form response is, this is the column that has all the last names. And again, I could separate these out, but I don't need to. All I care about is that these are used to order them alphabetically. So I'm going to go here, up here. So it's where D equals Anderson, and then I'm going to do this. I'm going to go and make sure I get the right column again. Come on, no, I don't want to do that. Let's go here. All right, so AA. So that's a big thing here. You're going to forget your column names. So I'm going to go over here, still within the big quotes, okay, where AA, no, not where. I'm going to order by AA, and I want them alphabetical ascending, so ASC. So order by AA ascending, and then I click enter, and there we go. So now these are different periods. Periods are out of order, but at least the names are in order. And that's going to make sense in a few minutes when we look at the next video and we organize this all by period. So, got to check out the next video to see how to do that.